Hook. What if the deepest secrets of human nature, why some are driven to kill, and how others find redemption, were laid bare by a man who stared death in the face? Get ready, because everything you thought you knew about justice, morality, and the human psyche is about to be shattered. Context. This is the story of a literary masterpiece written in 1866 by the Russian author Dostoevsky. He penned it immediately after returning from a Siberian prison, an experience he miraculously survived after narrowly escaping a firing squad. His literary genius exploded in the aftermath, giving us what many consider the greatest novel ever written. Main content. The novel plunges you into the mind of Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov, a young student consumed by a dangerous idea. From the very first page, this concept dominates him, pushing him to the brink. Imagine Raskolnikov, a young man withdrawn from the world, afflicted with introversion, leaving his rented room in a state of agitation. He can't pay his landlady, and a sinister thought churns inside him. He constantly asks himself, "Can I truly commit this act?" What was this terrifying act that pressed upon him? He wonders why anyone wouldn't commit such deeds, concluding that man is cowardly. If he couldn't carry out his idea, he'd be nothing more than a chatterbox. Dostoevsky wants you to understand this thoughtful young man, armed with modern ideas and dangerous analyses of society. Raskolnikov believes the world is divided into two types: ordinary people and extraordinary men. Here's where it gets chilling. Extraordinary men, in Raskolnikov's view, can commit crimes without regret. They dictate their own moral commands, feeling no remorse even for heinous acts if it serves their ideas. They can swim in a sea of blood and not care, as if they've done nothing. For Dostoevsky, these are the engines of history, the very people who should be condemned, but instead are often glorified and deified. Raskolnikov, a poor student with no future, asks himself, "Why don't I kill one of these evil rich people, seize their money, and create my future? I'll be performing an act of social reform. Why should I regret it?" He convinces himself that killing an evil person who harms others is not just harmless, but beneficial. We rid society of him, he thinks, and use his money to revive thousands of young, vibrant talents. But even with this elaborate justification, Raskolnikov doubts himself from the beginning. The target of his twisted logic is Alyona Ivanovna, an evil old pawnbroker. Her wealth is built on usury, and Raskolnikov sees her as a louse, a corrupt soul. He muses, what difference will it make if this old woman lives or dies? During his first visit, he surveys her home, asking strange questions about her living alone. The old woman, sharp-tongued and suspicious, dismisses him. But Raskolnikov leaves, pale and disturbed, his intention to kill clear. This emotional turmoil, this pallor, this painful illness has plagued him. His mind buckles under the weight of the idea, yet he cannot stop himself from this terrifying experiment. He wants to experience what it feels like to kill for his idea, to forge his own ethics through crime. But here's where Raskolnikov's journey takes an unexpected turn. Before the crime, he meets Marmeladov, a drunken man in a tavern. Dostoevsky writes a beautiful line. One sometimes meets people for the first time, and then finds oneself trusting them and beginning to talk with them about everything in one's life. ... Marmeladov spontaneously confides his miserable story. His sick wife, hungry children, and his daughter Sonya, forced into prostitution by destitution. He speaks eloquently. Poverty is not a vice. The real vice is destitution, because destitution makes a person wish to humiliate himself. He describes himself as a pig, willing to buy vodka with his wife's stocking money, rather than feed his children or help Sonya. This, you'll discover, is the introduction to Sonya Semyonovna Marmeladov, a truly wonderful character. This fleeting meeting with Marmeladov fills Raskolnikov with fresh anger, perhaps the final spark he needs. Little does he know, Marmeladov's family will become his path to salvation. Leaving the tavern, he encounters a drunken girl about to be assaulted and intervenes. He gives her money, then regrets it. Why not silence his conscience with his philosophical theory of crime? But all these justifications are just words on paper, because you're about to witness one of the most horrifying psychological states in literature, the stage of remorse. Microhook. The threads of fate begin to intertwine in uncanny ways. Why doesn't someone with enough courage kill this old woman and steal her money? We could revive many buried talents. The other simply replies, but my friend, this is the order of nature. Raskolnikov is stunned. What's happening? He thinks. The ideas in my head are being discussed by people in the street. He returns home, evading his landlady, steals an axe, and heads to Alyona Ivanovna's. His trick? Pawn a silver cigarette case. When she opens the door, he violently rushes in. She suspects him, noticing his pallor. He says he hasn't eaten for days, but as she examines the case, Raskolnikov pulls out the axe. Dostoevsky describes the act as automatic, as if an unseen force guides his hands to bring the axe down on her skull. He had wondered why criminals always leave traces. He theorized it was due to inexperience or blunders. But the real question he hid from himself was, could he control his nerves in the moment? Would reason disappear? The crime goes wrong immediately. He can't find the old woman's hidden money, taking only a few low-value items. Then a horrifying twist. Lizaveta, the old woman's innocent sister, appears. Like a child raising her hands, she receives another axe blow. 2 murders now. This second unplanned killing will have profound moral implications. He loses control. The door is open, only latched. 2 customers knock. Raskolnikov hides, then miraculously escapes when they leave temporarily. Descending the stairs, he sees 2 painters working below, one of whom will later be accused. Microhook, but escaping the scene, was just the beginning of his true torment. After the crime, Raskolnikov descends into pathological suspicion. His mind, once so sharp, can no longer properly contemplate philosophy. A terrible barrier has fallen between him and his inner self. He can't even be honest with himself, feeling everyone suspects him. They'll search my dwelling, he worries. How will I defend myself? You meet Razumikin, his kind, cheerful, intelligent friend, and Dr. Zosimov, who senses Raskolnikov's dubious psychological state. Then a letter arrives from his mother and sister, Dunya. Dunya is engaged to Pyotr Petrovich Luzhin, a rich man. It's clear, poverty has driven her to sacrifice herself. Hoping his money will save the family and fund Raskolnikov's studies. Raskolnikov erupts in anger, seeing it as Luzhin's vile trick, an exploitation of their destitution. He wants to protect Dunya. Before his family arrives, a tragic scene unfolds. Marmeladov is hit by a carriage and dies in Sonya's arms. His wife, Katerina Ivanovna, doesn't wail. She bitterly laments his drunkenness and wonders who will feed her children. Raskolnikov feels a door opened from heaven. He gives Sonya money his mother sent, wanting to play the good man. This act sparks an important, complex relationship with Sonya, a philosophical and emotional bond crucial for his salvation from endless remorse. Leaving Katerina Ivanovna's, Raskolnikov defiantly declares, "My life is not dead yet. My kingdom is the kingdom of reason. As for the old woman's kingdom, that's something else." He wants to believe he can live without regret. He fears Dunya's marriage to Luzhin because he knows her self-sacrificing nature, a Christian idea. Deep down, Raskolnikov is Dunya's mirror image, later wanting to sacrifice himself by confessing for his loved ones. Yet he blames her. How foolish she is, sacrificing herself for this wicked, despicable man. But the real game of cat and mouse is about to begin. After Marmeladov's funeral, a dangerous character emerges, Porfiry Petrovich, the investigator. A master psychologist, he suspects Raskolnikov from the start. Why? Because he read an article Raskolnikov had written, unknowingly published, outlining his theory of extraordinary men who can commit crime without remorse. Porfiry indirectly interrogates Raskolnikov, asking, "Couldn't we say that at some point you became one of these extraordinary people, or thought yourself one of them?" Raskolnikov, with arrogance, denies it, saying such people can return to their senses. He's indirectly defending himself. Deeply disturbed by the suspicion, shocked that his theory has come back to haunt him, Raskolnikov rarely thinks of poor Lizaveta, even though he killed her. Lizaveta and Sonya, both kind and innocent, are strangely linked. Dostoevsky implies that if Sonya had appeared at that moment, Raskolnikov might have killed her too. Crime, he suggests, is an automaton. If you kill once, you will kill 1,000 times. Break that barrier, and you're subservient to a will to destroy. Porfiry chillingly asks, what if those who think themselves extraordinary become more numerous? We would all drown in a sea of blood. His meeting with his mother and Dunya is fraught. He's unwell, projecting his sorrow and insults Luzhin. Then, another prominent figure appears, Svidrigailov. This man, who employed Dunya and harassed her, and whose wife Marfa Petrovna died mysteriously, seeks Raskolnikov. Svidrigailov asks if Raskolnikov believes in spirits, revealing his wife's ghost visits him. You learn Svidrigailov killed Marfa Petrovna. Now you have two murderers, the depraved Svidrigailov and the seemingly simple good Raskolnikov. Svidrigailov offers to propose to Dunya in exchange for money. Raskolnikov furiously refuses, determined to protect his sister from this man who views humanity basely, who sees women as mere objects, a symbol of absolute lustful evil. Unlike Raskolnikov, Svidrigailov is long past justifying his crimes with reason. He is evil incarnate. His end, like many Dostoevsky characters, is suicide. Microhook. But for Raskolnikov, the path to redemption is agonizingly different. He often goes to the bridge, contemplates suicide, but cannot. He tells Dunya, "I still love life." Raskolnikov is among those resurrected. Svidrigailov is not. A deeply moving meeting occurs with Sonya. He considers confessing, but struggles to analyze her religious feelings rationally. "Sonya," he tells her, "you'll remain alone and miserable. Why don't you and I go away?" Sonya objects, believing in God's mercy. Raskolnikov wonders if her faith is an illusion, thinking she doesn't grasp the horror of their situation. But the surprise, Sonya produces the Holy Bible, given to her by Lizaveta, Raskolnikov's victim, along with a cross. This is what makes him kneel before her. "I don't kneel before you," he says, with that wonderful literary phrase, but rather before the suffering of all humanity. Sonya becomes the engine of his spiritual salvation. Yet in a moment of doubt, he thinks, she is mad with Christ. Lizaveta is also mad with Christ. How easy it is to become weak-minded between these two women. Another meeting with Porfiry Petrovich, where Raskolnikov tries to dispel suspicions. But then one of the painters, Nikolai, confesses to the crime under psychological pressure. Porfiry's plan hits a dead end. Why can't Raskolnikov calm down, even without material evidence? Why does he remain agitated, risking self-incrimination? He realizes he's lost his psychological stability, a blessing he once took for granted, even in his darkest poverty. Microhook, the truth, when it finally emerges, is far more complex than a simple confession. Raskolnikov eventually confesses to Sonya. She doesn't report him, instead feeling immense love. She wants him free from his burden. He first rationalizes, "I only killed a wicked louse. Killing her erases 40 sins." But then he's honest. "I just wanted to be impulsive. I didn't want to work. I wanted to kill only for myself. To ascertain one thing, am I a louse or am I a person capable of doing something?" He was consumed by the idea of Napoleon, the great historical figure who kills without remorse. Yet he demeans himself, knowing Napoleon would never stoop to hide under an old woman's bed. In a powerful scene, Porfiry confronts Raskolnikov, showing his deep understanding. Why are you afraid? Life is before you. Prison is useful for people like you. You are not the wretch you imagine. You only carried a very big idea. Be a son, and all people will see you. Pain is very necessary. Let the current of life take you. You will not run away, my dear, because you no longer even believe in your theory. With nothing left but to surrender, Raskolnikov's last act is to protect Dunya from Svidrigailov. He talks with Svidrigailov, witnessing the man's depravity. But as foretold, Svidrigailov commits suicide after a terrible nightmare where a little girl turns evil, haunted by the women he tortured and his murdered wife. The final scenes are heartbreaking. Raskolnikov bids farewell to his mother, who after deteriorating health will later speak to everyone about her good son, Radia, who saved boys from death, destined for greatness. She believes in him until the end. Even at the moment of confession, Raskolnikov still scorns the idlers around him, the simpletons, imbeciles, fools. They know nothing of human nature, how the rich control the poor, or that history is a sea of blood, a big lie, a collection of criminals. He hates their demands for confession. This arrogance, Dostoevsky implies, is what separates Raskolnikov from true evil. He isn't a tyrant or a terrorist. He sheds this delusion. The credit for his resurrection goes to Christ, to Lizaveta's cross and gospel, through the story of Lazarus. Raskolnikov felt that if he believed in Lazarus's resurrection, no matter his crime, he could be resurrected too. He wants to be resurrected, which is why he couldn't commit suicide. Sonya tells him, "Go and confess your crime. Kneel on the ground. Prostrate yourself. Kiss the dust of this earth, for you have sinned against this earth. Shout at the top of your voice, 'I am a murderer.'" He does as Sonya advises, enduring mockery with patience. At the police station, he learns of Svidrigailov's suicide. And then, after a few moments of hesitation, Raskolnikov confesses, "I killed the old pawnbroker and her sister Lizaveta with axe blows." He is sentenced to several years of hard labor, a lenient sentence because the court sees he's not a typical criminal. He suffered psychological disturbance, acted strangely, left the door open, took worthless items, forgot details. He is imprisoned in Siberia. Sonya goes with him. His mother dies unaware. In prison, Raskolnikov initially shuns other prisoners who mock him. But these hardened criminals love Sonya, calling her "our mother," true tenderness. Sonya endures immense pain for him. One day, prisoners attack Raskolnikov in church, calling him an infidel. He realizes the deep, mysterious hatred that pervades human hearts, different from his own impulsive chaos. And this realization, this chilling insight into humanity, changes everything. Raskolnikov is freed from his past idea, the need to prove he could kill without remorse. He sees the reality of human evil, often born of ignorance, a force different from his mental impulse. He understands, if I had not been impulsive with my desires, if I had not been hasty, if I had not been arrogant, I would not have done everything I did. Now he thanks those moments, even his follies, for making him calm, capable of resurrection. He no longer regrets killing the old woman, but rather killing himself before the act, his moral self. He often dreams of a nightmare, a disease spreading globally, turning people into criminals, each believing they possess the one truth. No longer able to discuss good and evil, everyone kills, slaughters, burns. It's a chilling prediction of future wars and terrorist ideologies that see human life as worthless. At the novel's end, Raskolnikov stands by the river, contemplating. Sonya appears, pale from illness. He feels he has shed his past, purified, resurrected. Love and tenderness explode in his heart for Sonya, and she reciprocates. They have only 7 years of hard labor left. After that, boundless happiness. For true happiness can only be attained through arduous suffering. Closing, a new hero is born. A new story begins. And with that, the complex, painful, and ultimately redemptive journey of Rodion Romanovich Raskolnikov comes to its powerful close.